Welcome to Unafraid Living, the podcast that helps you fear less and live more. I'm Kim. I'm here to ask the questions you're probably thinking.
And I'm Coach Suzette, a certified brain health professional and life coach. I'm passionate about helping you quiet fear, build confidence, and live the life you truly want.
This is episode number 4. This is part of our Virtue podcast series. Today we're talking about being gracious. Before we get into that, how are you doing? You just got back from a trip.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. It's been hard though, because the time change is, it's just difficult. Going, I had no trouble at all. But coming home, I don't know if it's just because you go back to the mundane things of life and you're excited when you get there. So it's easier. I don't know, but it's definitely been more difficult adjusting to the time change.
I wonder if our actual fall back has messed anything up for you too.
Yeah.
Because that happened while you were gone.
It did. It went from a 7-hour time change to an 8-hour time change, I think. So we were in...
Who knows?
Yeah, I know, right? We were in 3 different countries. So it actually changed a little bit just moving between the countries.
Mm-hmm. Your brain seems to be working all right. How is your brain?
My brain is probably not like 10 if it was 0 to 10.
Okay.
Because I have really not slept very well for a few nights. But, I will say part of that's my husband's been snoring. He's got a bit of a cold. And so he's, this morning I think 5-ish or so, which I could have just gotten up, but I didn't. I was still tired. So I went back and slept on the couch for a while.
There you go. How gracious of you.
Yeah, right.
You didn't poke him in the ribs.
Oh, no, I did that at 2:30 in the morning.
So my brain.
Yes. How is your brain, Kim?
I got to get back in the groove of things since you've been gone on your trip. We haven't had the opportunity to do podcasting stuff. So I'm like trying to get it to focus on podcasting stuff.
Right.
And
because you have another business, right?
Yes. And it's busy time right now. So
why don't you tell us what you do?
So my husband and I own a business and we do holiday lights. So I am a quoter or a designer, if you will, for holiday lights. So I get to go out to people's house and talk to them about how we're going to light their house up. And it's the thick of it right now, and it'll calm down probably, after the 1st of December. And I know who knows when you're listening to this, but soon. Changing gears. I can do it. It's just not real easy.
Right. Well, the one thing that I was thinking about is when I was away, we were in, where was this? Portugal? Yes, we were in Madeira. And in Madeira, it's the old town. It's the European town where there's just row houses after row houses. And they are beautiful, really nicely kept. And between the rows, they have these giant holiday, I would call them banners. I don't know what else to call them, but they're like wire structure things with lights all on them. And each row has a different theme. It's all the same, same look, same style of design. So I'm sure it's very thematic and very pretty. But we were dying to see them turn on, but we didn't get to. But I thought about you because you bid cities too. You don't just go out and bid houses. You do whole cities, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's really a fun time. I do have to say, we apologize. Somebody decided to start doing some yard work as soon as we started recording. So if you hear that in the background, we are very sorry. Please
forgive it.
Yes, forgive us.
Be gracious.
This episode is a part of a series called The Virtue Effect on the Brain. And that's very important to note because virtues do have an effect on the brain, thoughts and behaviors. So today we're going to talk about what it means to be gracious and why it matters. Maybe we should define what a virtue really is.
That's a good place to start. So a virtue can be defined in lots of different ways. So maybe you think of a virtue as making morally good choices. I think that's pretty common. But as we explore how virtues affect the brain, we're going to be talking about choosing thoughts that bring peace, and clarity and courage to us and all the people around us.
Right.
So looking at how being gracious affects your brain health is important.
Well, to me, being gracious kind of means just being kind. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that is right. It's absolutely a part of it. But like literally to be gracious is to offer grace. So then we have to ask,
Right.
what is grace?
Mm-hmm.
It's the intentional act of extending kindness, patience, and respect, even when it's hard.
And sometimes it can be really hard.
Sometimes it can be really hard. And that's when it actually is a virtue. Because when we're just nice to someone because they're nice to us, that's not really that virtuous.
It's not too hard.
Right? It becomes a virtue when we have to take the high road. That's what being virtuous is all about.
Gotcha.
Taking the high road.
Being the bigger person.
Yeah.
What happens when not being gracious or becoming rude and unpleasant to be around?
So neurologically, that's what we're going to talk about when we're talking about mentally. Neurologically, we slip out of the intentionality and into our automatic reactive mode. The brain's stress response system just takes over. And with that, the amygdala then will send a signal to another part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And that is what gives us the shot of cortisol. That's what causes us to become emotionally unregulated.
Oh, cortisol.
And
Okay.
so that shot of cortisol, it causes us to maybe like be thrown into anger or just be really upset, feeling like we need to make things right. It can do a lot of things to us that aren't helpful in the moment. So even when we do feel justified in our reactions, something deep down in us knows that we're out of alignment if we are just going into that reaction mode with that shot of cortisol fueling it.
Okay.
So that disconnect, it brings guilt, it brings shame, it causes anxiety, and it fuels more stress. Our heart and our brain, they actually lose their rhythm. So they're literally become out of sync. And we feel so emotionally unsettled.
Let me ask you about cortisol. I know it can be good, but it also can be bad, right?
Oh, yeah, right. It could be our friend or our enemy. It can cause us to have exactly what we need in an emergency situation.
Okay.
So, you've heard the stories of where people do unthinkable things like lift a car off of someone or rescue someone from a fire. They run into a building and, it's just crazy. It's like, wow, that's cortisol doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
It helps us. It's literally the thing that can cause us to have the fight or flight. And if we actually need to flee because there's a bear chasing us, that cortisol can make us run faster.
Okay.
But in the situation where it's not useful, when we're in a situation and we want to shut down, and so instead of shutting down, we get this shot of cortisol going, do something. And that something isn't always something that's helpful.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So it can definitely not be our friend a lot of the time.
Okay. So I can see this happening in relationships. So what kind of effect would it have for a relationship?
Well, okay, let's just go back to graciousness,
Okay.
right? So if we're not being gracious, we are letting that cortisol affect us in the bad way.
Right.
Then it doesn't just affect us. It spills out into how we treat people. So stress and defensiveness, it pushes people away. Our tone, it gets sharper. Our patience definitely gets thinner. I know for a fact mine
Yes.
does.
Hey.
And suddenly small things feel big that shouldn't. So that creates a disconnection between us and the people that we want to be connecting with. There's tension and more stress on both sides. So over time, it erodes trust and safety. So we don't feel comfortable with people anymore or they don't feel comfortable with us. And the very thing that we need for the relationships to thrive is gone.
Okay. So when we are being gracious, then what's the relationship like?
Okay, when our heart and our brain are in sync, we are able to be gracious. And when we are gracious, our brain and our heart are in sync. A little bit of
Right.
that cycle again.
Okay.
They're synergistic. And we need that for coherence. So literally we need that so that our heart rhythms can be in tune with our brain and our mental health. So we need coherence to offer grace. And when we offer grace, we have more coherence.
How can we go about becoming more gracious?
Great question. I like that. It's because you're asking for an action step.
That's right.
Yeah.
You love action steps.
I do. So it starts with awareness. Like most things, starts with awareness. So the next time you feel yourself getting tense or reactive, you just pause. You notice it. Because that pause is really powerful. It gives our brain a chance, literally gives it time to think, a chance to shift from reaction to intention. So with that pause, if you can take it long enough to take a slow, deep breath and ask yourself. Now, I want to say something here because that slow, deep breath, sometimes that pause, especially for people who talk real fast, which I can when I get excited, can feel like it's an eternity. But generally to the other person, it doesn't feel like the eternity that you're feeling.
Okay.
And so getting comfortable with a little silence is really, really helpful. Taking the deep breath and thinking to yourself, what would grace look like right now? It's amazing how just that one question can change the tone and the energy. So when we're practicing the pause and taking a second to steer our own thoughts in a healthier direction, it changes things. We literally rewire our brain. So towards peace and emotional strength. So grace, it grows every time we choose it.
Okay.
And grace is graciousness, right? Or it is being gracious, because that's what practice does for us. When we practice the virtues, it rewires our brain. I should probably say that more often.
Me too. Me too. What is one simple step our listeners can take away this week?
Well, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, that's a hard thing.
It is.
I know it's not easy, but that most of us need to work on that. So it's a good one to just throw out there, say, this is a good one step, and to keep it to one thing, because most of us jump to conclusions all day, every day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we assuming the best about people is hard, especially if you have a history with them. But offering grace instead of judgment is like compound interest for relationships. It literally pays off over time. So you'll start liking people more. You'll start feeling more honestly towards them, like you want to be vulnerable. You'll feel lighter, calmer, and even more connected. So that's your heart and your brain syncing up. Every time you choose that, every time you choose to be gracious, you shift your brain out of stress and into peace. And that makes it easier to be gracious the next time. That's what rewiring your brain does for you. It makes it easier next time to take the high road.
I can agree with that. The more you practice, the easier something gets.
Yep.
Why wouldn't it be the same with this?
Exactly.
So tell our listeners something that they need to hear or know.
Ooh. Well, grace isn't weakness. It's actually wisdom. So it takes strength to offer. Anyone can react, but when you pause, stay kind, and choose grace, when everything in you wants to just fight back or react to, that's strength training for your mind. It's literally training your brain. So you're literally going to get a ripple effect when you start doing this. Every time you do it, you're reshaping the neural pathways to make grace the new default. And the more that you practice, the easier it gets. So give people the benefit of the doubt, stay kind, live with more peace, clarity, and courage. And that is the virtue effect on the brain.
Thank you again for joining us. We hope you're walking away with something that helps you feel a little calmer, a little more confident, and a lot more free.
And if you're ready to go beyond just listening and start living unafraid, come join me in the Unafraid course. You'll find all the details at unafraidcourse.com.
And follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And be sure to check all the show notes for any links.
Your brain is listening, so fear less. Keep calm, live more, and listen on.